Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to the Fort Salem Library, where we read you your fanfiction. So sit down or don't, relax or don't, and enjoy these stories in a way you have not before. We at Fort Salem Library do not own Motherland Fort Salem or any of the related characters. The Motherland Fort Salem series is created by Elliot Lawrence and owned by Freeform. This story is a work of fanfiction and is meant for entertainment only. We are not making any profit from these stories. All rights of the original Motherland Fort Salem story belong to Freeform. We also do not own I Just Wanted to Say Hello, or any of its original characters and storylines. We did, however, get permission from the author to read their story. This story was created and written by TruFreak89, and you can find a link in our show notes. This story is being read to you by Britt. I Just Wanted to Say Hello. No, Charvel. Riel looked up from her palm, which she'd been staring at for hours now, and moved to calm Abigail as she mumbled in her sleep and thrashed against the sheet wrapped around her, fighting an unseen enemy. Abs, hey, it's okay, Riel soothed. Leaning over the other girl, she cradled Abigail's cheeks in her hands, trying to stop her from thrashing around and hurting herself. It was all she could do, and it was far from enough. Riel felt powerless to help her sister witch. She was a fixer, but Abigail's pain wasn't something she could fix. It wasn't physical. Abigail's eyes opened slowly, watery and unfocused as she fought against the powerful sedatives in her system. They had doubled the dose to try to give her a more restful sleep, but Abigail's unconscious mind wouldn't allow any such thing. She blinked, tears rolling down her cheeks as her eyes focused on Rael. Ray? You were having a nightmare, said Rael, wiping Abigail's tears away with the pads of her thumbs. It's okay. It wasn't real. You're safe. Abigail squeezed her eyes shut tight and shook her head, memories of her nightmare still lingering like smoke in the air around her. It was real, she said, clenching her teeth together. She pulled away from Rael's touch and shifted onto her side, turning her back on her sister. Rael didn't push. She sat on the edge of Abigail's hospital bed, her hand resting on the other girl's side until she heard the breathing even out. Satisfied that Abigail was sleeping again, Rael moved back to her post on the empty bed beside Abigail's. With Tally gone, it was up to Rael to keep vigil over Abigail, just like she'd done for Tally weeks earlier. Rael sat back against the metal railings of the headboard and let out a heavy sigh, the trials of the day catching up with her in the dead of night, and striking blue eyes haunting her every waking second. She brought her left palm up to her face, cradling it with her right hand as she willed an S to appear on it. Scylla had been there at the riot. Rael was sure of it. That was the only thing she was sure of, though. Scylla was meant to be in a goddess-forsaken prison, far from Rael's reach, not standing in front of her in the middle of a riot, of all places. Rael squeezed her eyes shut, trying to ignore the conflicting emotions welling up inside of her as she idly traced her fingers over her palm, trying to recreate Scylla's greeting from all those months ago as her former lover's words rung in her ears. I just always want to be able to say hi to you. Scylla lay curled up on her bed in the Spree safe house, her knees tucked up to her chest and her face buried in an overstuffed pillow as she tried to stifle her sobs. Seeing Rael at the riot had been like touching a live wire, and her body and soul alike ached from it. She'd been torn between reaching out for Rael and turning tail and running, and of course Scylla had done what she did best. She ran. Scylla was a dodger, and running was all she had ever known. She'd learned from an early age not to get attached, to be ready to cut ties and run at a moment's notice. But all of that had gone out of the window the moment she'd locked eyes with Rael Collar. Scylla lay with her hands clenched into fists under her pillow, her nails biting into the flesh of her palm. The pain was well-deserved, and palled compared to what she'd put Rael through. There was no atoning for that. Scylla shifted as the stinging in her left palm morphed into a burning sensation. She wrenched her hand out from under the pillow and stared at it in disbelief. Scylla clenched her palm shut and brought it to her chest, cradling it against her heart as fresh tears fell down her cheeks. She wasn't sure how, but there, burned into her palm, was a single letter. R. Please find the fanfiction you just listened to on Archive of Our Own and leave the author some love. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and we want to thank them from the bottoms of our hearts for creating these amazing stories and keeping the show alive.